How are we doing then, team? What's been going on? Andrea, you got flooded out.
I did. My car is still in the shop.
Is it really? What happened? So
Yeah.
a bit of background on it. Andrew was supposed to come to our meetup, Rick, Raf, that you guys came to. Cam, obviously you weren't around, but Andrew was going to come down and meet us. And I got an email saying, can't come, road flooded, car dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I was halfway there. I was in Delaware and there was such a torrential rain that the road was flooded. Like you couldn't even see out of the windshield. And then all of a sudden my car just started bucking.
Oh,
And
no way.
I got to the side of the road. I think it was too much water and some kind of sensor got tripped, but the mechanic has been on vacation. So today's his first day back. So I enjoyed a comfy ride in a tow truck back to Maryland.
Well, that's always nice. You got to have a good chat with a stranger, make some new friends.
Yes. Mike the tow guy. Got to learn.
Mike the tow guy.
Yeah. But give me serious props for effort. I was definitely in transit on my way there.
Props granted. Props granted. Cool. Well, let's dive in. Let's do the wins and the challenges. Now we'll dig into some podcast movement to recap stuff. So, in fact, I'll start with you, Andrea, because you've had quite a big week. You've been making moves once more. Tell me what's been going on, wins and challenges.
All right. So I did my summit this week at the aviation company, and it was phenomenal. Like these people were fired up, and they left feeling really excited, and they came up with really specific solutions for their company for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And then we'll do the larger stakeholder summit in October. So it was my first time facilitating this whole new appreciative inquiry by myself. Totally rocked. I loved it. I got my pictures converted. We were working on that. Thank you, Raf, so much, because what you sent me really helped. And I was able to share the summit stuff on social media as a matter of, you sharing those videos. So that was really pivotal. I landed a TED-style talk for the appreciative inquiry community, and that's going to be September, actually early September. And it's going to be videotaped and shared with the global appreciative inquiry community. So it'll be a live talk. I don't know how many people yet. I'm still getting all the details. And then that will be circulated throughout the world. So that's a big one for me.
Well done.
The Nantucket project, I don't know if I shared that, but they're bringing me to Nantucket and funding my whole experience and putting me up in a house, and my meals are covered.
Wow.
That's a $5,500 ticket. And so there's some opportunity there with their organization. I did contact a partner for a global program that I'm trying to put together with this woman from Dubai. And I was able to track down the personal emails of two of the pivotal people and get a message out to them. So I plan on following up with them. My next challenge, I really think it's time. I got to get my website going. So I've been trying to find resources on that. The designer I had in mind is no longer doing that work. Had an interview with her anyway. But I certainly don't want to make her do something she doesn't want to do anymore. Mm-hmm. So I got to get my branding and everything out there. So that's my challenge.
Okay. Well, on the design stuff, we're actually launching a brand new onboarding process, which Raf's going to go through as well on probably Wednesday or Thursday this week. So before Podcast Movement, I redid the entire academy. So we've now got 3 tiers on the academy: the free tier, the paid tier, and the premium tier for podcast websites members. The other thing that I was working on behind the scenes was we've redone our entire welcome process. So you're going to land on a slightly different screen when you become a member of podcast websites, and you're going to be given you're going to be asked a couple of questions, and then depending on your answers, you're going to be sent down one of 4 different launch tracks. We've got the fresh start launch track. We've got the builder, the creator, and the something else, content Kickstarter. So these are 4 very different launch tracks, a pile of modules ranging from how to do the basics right through to design principles, right through to getting this thing launched. So what we'll do is we'll get you guys on that. just so you can work through that process. It's intended to take you from no knowledge right through to launching. So it's very, very straightforward. And we can always add things to it as well.
So it's me designing it then?
It's customizing. So what we're going to do is we'll regenerate the site. We've updated the site, so we'll regenerate it. You will have to customize it. Being honest, that's a skill you need anyway. If you're going to do this, you need to know how to quickly create a landing page. So it's all handhold. It's all there. It's nice and easy stuff.
All right.
So we'll work you through that process. There's more touch points in it as well. So James has started, and there's more personal touch points within that as well. So you'll get the opportunity to chat with James a little bit more. We're also going to do a pre-launch critique as well. So once you're ready, you'll tell us that you're ready to launch, and then James will record, or one of the team will record a live video for you and say, okay, here are 5 things that you can do to make the site more effective or better, ready for you.
Good.
It's going to be really, really step by step. I've spent a hell of a lot of time on that, and it's done now. I just need to record 2 more videos tomorrow.
Okay. So do you think from where I sit that it's something I can get launched by October?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd be thinking it'd be September. Yeah, no problem.
All right, good. All right. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is that from the summit, okay, I was able to do this summit because the guy, I know the CEO, and he let me come in so that I could practice my approach of inquiry on his organization. Mm-hmm. So it was a freebie. If they hire me to help them with the implementation, that's fine. But your question on social media about should you do anything for free? I posted the summit on LinkedIn, and it's already gotten 50 hits from really amazing people that I would have never reached before. So I know there's a lot of naysayers about giving freebies, but for me, this one was worth it because it honed my skill. It generated what I wanted to generate, and I'm still seeing the results. So
I think it's huge. I think you've got to do you've got to just pick what you're giving for free. Like I did that beyond the podcast with Aweber. I couldn't remember the name. I had a panel at Podcast Movement that was called Beyond the Download, so I'm getting confused. But I did that, and that's just all for free, and that just drove a shed load of traffic into the academy. Like 150 signups. Boom, straight away. So I totally agree with that. I think it's about picking the battles with that. Picking what you do for free and when you do it. So I get that completely. Cool. All right. Well, stick a pin in that for now. We'll come back to some of that stuff, I'm sure. But well done. I think you're right. I think the time is right to get this site done, start pushing traffic to it, creating some content. So I'll get you on that track this week sometime. So well done. Rick, I'm going to come to you, sir, in your beautiful productivity T-shirt. What's going on, man? Wins and challenges. I know you've been out and about. You were at NSA and then you were at Podcast Movement. But what's been going on? Good to see you last week.
Yep, you too. Just traveling. Nothing's really been getting done. So now it's time to get busy again. I think that's the challenge, is sorting through and seeing. I've got a 300th episode, got to launch by Friday. So I ended up with about 70 people doing that. I didn't get my 300, but I think 300 would have been way too many people saying their bold moves. So this will be perfect. What else? Felt pretty good about my PMX talk last week. Got a lot of great feedback from that one. Lots of interesting relationships got built from that. So that was cool. And now it's just deep dive into back to work. So that's where I'm at.
Good, man. Yeah, I would agree on the talk. I've had a lot of good feedback from people that know that I know you. A lot of people proactively coming up and saying how good it was. So that's awesome. Do really nice work on that one. Just a kind of a bit of a check-in on the coaching and the speaking stuff. I know you've not done much because you've been traveling, but right. Coaching all going well, the speaking stuff, the follow-ups for that, what's the sitch with those?
Both are kind of at a standstill right now. A little bit of a more than a little bit of a challenge. Mostly the speaking is just because I didn't do any outreach between the 2 weeks that I was out purposefully on that, because I wanted to see what came from NSA, and then obviously I was just gone for Podcast Movement. So that's a big deep dive starting today, getting back into that. coaching just kind of slowed down over the last couple of weeks because a lot of my clients went on vacation and stuff. So waiting for some of them to get back and then trying to figure out how to get some new people in the door. So
that makes sense, dude. I get that totally. This time of year for any kind of coach is always a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I hear on that one. Well, good. Yeah, positive stuff from Podcast Movement as well. I think let's work on a talk for next year. Get on the main stage with it.
Yeah.
And I think actually have something to sell as well on there. Let's get a funnel built just to capitalize on Podcast Movement next year.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. Nice work. Cam, good to see you, sir. What's the win? What's the challenge? What's been going on?
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Let me see. Wins. Things are going great with my VA. We've had a stumble or two. I take the blame for some training episodes, but I think it's just how it normally happens in world and in life and in bringing on people. More interest in my personal appearances continue to come in, and the double booking stuff continues, where I can't do some. I have a challenge of potential sponsor that wants to come on, and there's a lot of people in the industry that don't admire and respect this company. And so I've interviewed two of their principals within the last 3 years because of their unique product, yet the industry is 50-50. They like them or they hate them or they love them. So I've never had this particular situation, and I gotta think this through and figure it out. And maybe it's something you and I could talk about, Rick, or Mark. I've done some work on my Adopt a Shop campaign, cleaned it up really. Yeah. By the way, why I'm having a chance to do some of this stuff is because I have a VA. So I'm moving more working on than in, and being so deep in it. Moving forward with brand Carm will be a challenge, but I'm just doing the tweaks to that and trying to make who I am and what I do inside the industry work. And I need to ask somebody at PW if I can have 2 lines on my menu line on the website. And, I think when you keep adding to it, it gets smaller. And there's some resources that I have that I would love to expose as line items. So I've got to reach out to somebody there and ask.
Yeah, that's doable. Just pop a quick support request in. That's definitely doable.
So otherwise, it was a great week. No major big wins, no major tough challenges. It's just been steady as she goes. I'm at a happy point, I think.
Good, man. My initial quick straight advice on the sponsor, I've seen this a couple of times, is quite literally ask your audience. And I mean literally.
Well, I've actually made some of those calls. And yes, I have. I've made some of those phone calls, and they told me to stay away. So
what I would do personally is activate the email list, get an email out, put an anonymous survey up. No names, just a very anonymous survey. Should we have this person as a sponsor? Yes or no? If no, ask why.
That person is a member of my alumni who is asking me. And so I don't think I can do an anonymous without them knowing that I'm really looking to undress them. So,
Carm, without saying too much trade secret, what exactly is it a shady business practices?
No. I'll tell you who it is. It's a company called Repair Pal. And Repair Pal is a site where if you have to fix your car, you get on it, and it'll recommend places in your market to get your car fixed. And the argument in the industry is that they set price, and the guys don't want set prices set. So when the guys sign up for Repair Pal at like $199 a month, they have to almost conform to what Repair Pal is doing. So some of them love the marketing side of it. Some of them hate, don't tell me how to run my business side of it. You either love them or you hate them. The guys that I've spoken to that are true raw entrepreneurs have come up the real hard way, don't like them. The new guys will take any marketing opportunity we can get our hands on, and Repair Pal is one of them.
Yeah, that's a challenge. I get that with that. Well, that's actually what we were doing with Cavalry to a degree back in the day. And there was a direct split, completely direct split. I mean, we were more in the recovery side to start with, but there's another company over here in the UK doing that. And it's literally the same. I think the logic is that people make it on the back end, but often that's not the case. It's a real awkward one, that.
So here's but I'll just share with you my thoughts. Since I launched For the Record, and it's finding its home, I may just say, hey, why don't you guys take this for 3 months, see what happens? We'll put a 15-second spot inside of this thing, get it launched, be part of the launch. There's 4 or 5 episodes out there already. And maybe since it's a tiny little short show, it's a rant from an industry professional, it may just get them involved, and maybe it'll work. It's not like it's my big stuff, although I do think For the Record is going to be big. That could be an option.
Yeah. Sorry, Raph, were you going to say something then? No. Alrighty then. Why am I hearing myself?
Because you like it?
No, I really do not. It's like back and forth. There we go.
This is great.
Oof, no. Yeah, I would just ask them. I would directly. I'd even tell the person that you're asking them. I'd say, look, I asked and even make it sound like you do that with everything. Just say, look, I asked the audience on every sponsor that I get, and get it out to the anonymous form. There's a real risk of shooting yourself in the foot either way, and you can't argue with the audience saying yes. That's.
But in analyzing this, what is the big risk? So let's say Carm says, I'm doing it with this group. They're not nefarious. They're not shady practicing. It's just basically people don't like to feel like their business is in control of this other business. It's a service, right? It's a service. They're not obligated to buy into it. So if they don't like it, they just don't like it. So right. What is the negative result? What is the downfall?
Well, the 50% of the people that don't like how they go to market, and it's just that they're a consumer interrupt, if you will. They're trying to say that consumers don't know how to go to Google and type in car repair in my town. And what RepairPal tries to do is promote themselves as the place to go to for car repair. Right.
So like Angie's List for car repair.
Bingo.
Okay. So, but I guess what I'm asking is, let's say you partner up with them. What is the downside?
I guess the downside is Carm sold out to corporate America monies.
Old buddy Carm sold out.
And, I guess, the show's for sale. He'll sell to anybody. And 50% of the people say, we're not sure we like that. And, but yet I have 2 really great sponsors of great products in our industry who I'm so comfortable with. So even myself, I never figured out how RepairPal fit yet. The guys that aren't good marketers, Raph, like RepairPal.
So what does Carm like RepairPal?
I'm not a fan of how RepairPal interrupts. Never have been a fan of the interrupter. Never. I got a million of them want to do interviews with me. Our industry is getting laden with interrupters, go-betweens, if you will.
Sounds like you have your answer.
Yeah. If the dude at the lead doesn't like it, don't do it.
So they're such good people, and I know them, and I mean, they're just great people. So yeah. I've got to take this person that I know really, really, really well, meet him at conferences. It's a woman, and she's just grown to be the VP in 3 years of this company, and she just softly reached out to me again. Hey, Carm, what are we doing about this? We want in.
You can also refer back to where your brand's going, so you keep it neutral in your response. Just say, you know what? I've really been mulling it over and been talking in my own strategic planning, and as far as where my brand's going to go.
You're right, and I have said no to so many other, business models like yours to come on the show that I'm just going to pause right now. I'm going to hit the what do you call it, Mark? Put a pin in it button.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
But if you don't like that industry, those interrupters, then you can just make it a known that Carm doesn't play with interrupters.
What were you going to say, Rick?
Well, I think it comes down to what really aligns with your brand, man. I mean, I've never said I wanted sponsors, and then the last month I've got hit by 2 of them. And the 2 that approach me are definitely coming from the perspective of they think my podcast is all around the LGBTQ content, and they're not doing their homework. And one was a men's underwear company, and the other one was it's called HIMS. It's an erectile dysfunction thing for guys. Now, after I've thought about it, I could make it work. I could make both of those work, because I could make both of those work along the lines of making bold moves to be yourself, being who you're meant to be. But it's not the core of my brand. And I've learned at this stage of my life that unless it aligns with who I am, I have to stay firm in my direction with my business and who I am as a person. And yeah, it would be nice to have some money sponsorship coming through, but they don't align. They just don't align with my integrity and who I am as a person. Now, if it was the Coming Out Lounge and it was all the gay stuff, I probably would have picked those 2 up in a heartbeat and said, this plays to this. How I could twist these is to be, take the men's underwear. Sometimes guys struggle to be themselves. They don't have enough confidence. They're not bold enough to say, hey, I'm a good looking guy, blah, blah, blah. And I could twist that into a good sponsorship, plug. Same with the erectile dysfunction. One of the things most guys hide is when they're having trouble downstairs, they don't want anybody to know about it. But sometimes the bold move is to say, hey, this is what's really going on. So I could twist both of these to make it work. But I don't think it's the right fit for where I am as a podcaster and where I want the direction of the business to go.
You know what? I absolutely love what you just said, Rick, the way I could actually take Repair Pail and twist it into the right way. Maybe that's the dialogue that they need to hear from me is, some of my audience, they either love you or they hate you, Jill. How do we make this work? Is there anything going on inside the company, any strategic plans? I mean, they just got a $5 million influx of money from a pretty big company. And that's another thing that people think, wow, what's their angle? What do they want?
Well, here's another angle to take too, Carmen. Of course, you have to get them to think about it too. But if they give you some creative license to kind of come up with how the sponsorship gets pitched, it could be, some of you out there listening are going to know exactly who you want to go to when you go to repairs. And then there's others of you. It could be you're a busy person running a business. It could be you're a mom with kids and you're staying at home. It could be you're a single parent and you're trying to figure out how am I going to work this in. Well, here's where repair, whatever it is, fits for you. Now you have acknowledged the industry standard of some people don't like it, but this is where this fits. And maybe that's the spin you take.
I got it. Hey, it was great. Thank you all for the extra time here. You've really helped. Thank you.
Just to finish on that note, I think your industry is going to get disrupted. You've got to decide whether you want to be the one known for looking backwards or the one known for looking forwards. These guys, these marketplaces are nothing new at all.
I know.
And it will be the way to go with it.
I know. I hear you. I know.
Interesting one. Cool. Yeah, I got some more thoughts now. We can talk about that on a one-to-one anyway. But yeah, just ask. Cool, man. So, Raf, last one. Give us a quick rundown of the wins and the challenges. And I want to get on to some podcasting movementy stuff.
All right. The quick win. Hang on. So the quick win was that I'm alive. I had a serious illness for about 14 or 15 days. I don't even know what was wrong with me. So I got a flu, then the funk, and then had sinusitis. Anyways, I took 78 hours of sick leave from work. So I was out. But this is the win. Who is that, Mark?
Yo, I can't remember all the names.
That's Ethan. That's Ethan.
I was going to say Ethan, but then I thought maybe that's the little one.
No, that's the oldest one. So there's Ethan.
I remember the Ethan, but Well, let me see if I can guess.
Yep. So you want to name them all? Is what you're saying?
No, I'll just.
No, you're not gonna remember. You're not gonna remember the clan.
I remember
name.
like half
Thank
of them. You have so many children, man.
Yes, 5. Well, so that's the win that we were able to go meet. I met Rick. Man, Rick, he looks really tiny. Not tiny, but he doesn't look big in that chair. And he is a tall man. Here's the other little one right here. You remember this one? There's only one of these right now.
Oh no, I'm terrible with this.
Elizabeth.
I should have known that.
Do you remember Mr. Mark?
Hey.
Mr. Rick?
Oh.
Anyways, that was
everyone.
Yes, that was the win that I was able to meet Rick. Rick was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then Mark is actually, if you guys haven't met Mark, he's tall, and we had a great time there at the bowling alley with the family. Anyways, that was just a really good reset, and it actually wore me out because by the time we got home, I was out all of Thursday and Friday as well. So I kind of pushed it to the edge, but sometimes you have to push it to the edge to go make those contacts and meet those folks. I was able to serve John Lee Dumas, so I got him a get one, give one. So he gave me permission we did a little video, so he says I can go ahead and market that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
so I haven't been able to do a lot with that, but I'm going to hit that hard here. And so anyways, so it was just a really good time. And so back in the game, really excited to kind of hit it like Andrea as well. Hit the website, start creating that. I'm ready to build. I'm sketching stuff out on paper. And that's actually maybe an idea, Andrea, that you can do is just get if you're thinking, I want to have 5 web pages, get 5 sheets of paper and just kind of start scribbling a little bit. That's kind of how I'm starting. And then I guess you would go over to wireframing or some other concept, but that's how I'm starting. But hey, Mark, one quick question.
Sorry to jump in on that one. Get into the academy for that. Both of you got access, and there's all the tools that you need for that in there.
And I was going to ask you, Mark, you said earlier when you were talking to Andrea that the academy is splitting into 3 different tiers. Is that something that we have to upgrade to, or how is that going to work?
No, it's already split, actually. It's split a couple of weeks ago. We've got the free tier. We've got the paid for tier, which you don't have to be a podcast websites member to be a part of. And then we've got the your tier, which anyone that joins podcast websites gets full access. Actually, they get premium access, so they even get stuff that the paid tier doesn't get. Okay. A lot of that stuff we're going to be launching over the next few weeks, so some extra stuff in there. So you guys, as podcast websites members, you guys get full access to that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So anyway, just handing out more stickers, and it's really interesting. So I want to share with you, which was kind of I couldn't understand what was happening. So I was sick, so I was kind of out of the loop for a while. And then when I handed John Lee Dumas the get one, give one, the 2 stickers, I've already talked to him about it before. And so it was natural. And I never actually met him in person, but I've conversed with him in person or via this medium. So it felt kind of like I knew him. Well, fast forward to Friday, I think it was Friday afternoon, Friday evening. I was at a Chick-fil-A. That's a restaurant around here, Mark. And there was a veteran in there. And it was an older gentleman, Vietnam vet, had his hat that said retired Air Force Vietnam vet. And I hesitated to give him a sticker. Like I backed out. I was going to engage, and I backed out, and I just walked by him, and I kind of did like a circle around the restaurant. And then I was just kind of hanging on the other side of the restaurant waiting for my order. And I thought, what is going on with me? And I actually started getting really nervous. Like my hands were shaking. And I'm like, man, it's kind of like one of these things where you get out of the loop and I have to re-engage. So I forced myself to re-engage. I noticed, I kind of looked at the situation. He wasn't getting his food. He was just kind of standing there as well. So I approached him and I said, hey, I got something for you. And I engaged in the conversation. He got all excited. He said he was going to the VA the next day, the Veterans Affairs, the hospital, to some event or something. I got a ton of email signups. I can only attribute it that it was through this guy. I don't know how it happened. But anyways, yeah, it was just one of these weird things. But after the situation, I went back in the car and I was still shaking. I was sort of like it was my first go again. It was very strange. But anyways, I overcame that challenge, and it was really neat how it just happened. But I can't still identify what happened there. Like there was like a glitch. Maybe I was out of the game and I forgot how to ride the bicycle, and then I started riding the bicycle again. I don't know. But anyways, so the lifeblood of this whole concept is rooted in handing out the stickers, just like we've speculated, Mark. It's just hand out them stickers, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. So that's what I'm doing.
Good, man. Yeah, it definitely is. It's not only the icebreaker, but it's the follow-up as well. Is the stickers. Keep connecting the dots. You know, we want to give 1 million of these things out over the next 2 or 3 years. Just keep doing that. Keep doing that. There'll be a tipping point, a cresting point where someone will say, actually, I've heard of this. It'll be someone random in a different state, and you'll see them, and that's the first time that you'll get that. Well, I've heard of these, and I've been wanting one. You know, that will happen. It's just about flooding the market with them. That's what we're trying to do. We've got to build the momentum up with that.
Yeah.
So keep on with that. And that, you know, that fear is going to come. Of course it is. You know, we all get that. So stick with it. Stick with it. I think that's really good. Good. Nice work, team. But yeah, no, last week was a good week. So, you know, I kind of want to do a bit of a recap on that. One for those that weren't there, but two for those that were there, and kind of you get a little bit pulled out, don't you? You know, Rick, you were there, and you get a little bit, should I go to that session? Should I go to that session? You don't really know what the deal is. But I don't know what you thought, Rick, but I didn't think the education at Podcast Movement was that good this year. I thought the expo hall and the networking and the parties, and that was the best it's been for the last 3 years. But I think the education, the sessions, I don't think that was fantastic. I don't think that was great.
No, there was way too much. There were way too many repetitive things. I walked out of several simply because I think if I could give Jared the best feedback, it'd be there was way too much new podcast educational stuff.
Yeah,
there wasn't enough of okay, you're here now, what, you know? So yeah, definitely, I agree 100%.
Yeah, it was definitely a funny one for that. You're right. There was a lot of the same old stuff. One of the themes that kind of came out of it for me, though, was that, and it's something that we talked about here internally, definitely, and that's why we're kind of doing some certain things with the new products that we've got, is that the brands are definitely into this now. Like, the brands are into it. So I'm talking Google are obviously into it. Amazon are well into it. But also the brands flooding the market with branded content. You know, a lot of people commissioning original content, which means that it's going to be even harder for independents to stand out. You know, you guys creating your shows, it's going to be really fucking hard to stand out. Really hard to stand out. And off the back of that, it's kind of where we've been going with the messaging of podcast websites, and certainly with the productivity stuff. Is it's really all about maxing out on the niche. You know, it's really about taking 200 listeners and doing something with them. Now that's the win. That's the play. You know, so I think we've got to start to consider that. Especially guys like yourself, Carl, and you, Rick. Like, how are we going to, like you said, Rick, how are we going to not necessarily level up, but how do we max out on what we're doing with these people that we've got? You know, less worry about consistently creating stuff, and keep doing that, but actually more concern and more focus on doing something with the people that are listening. You know, I think that's a massive, massive thing. Because as we know, you only need 200-300 dedicated people listening, and suddenly you're off to a really strong start. You've got a nice brand out there. And that's the other thing that I think really stood out. There are a lot of people talking about influence. You know, our pitch now is become an audio influencer. That's something that we're writing the book on. There was a lot of people kind of talking a little bit about that. And we're saying, actually, don't be a podcaster, be an audio influencer. But the massive gap there is the look of your thing, is the design. Hey, Elizabeth, see, Raf, I'm not that bad. I really am terrible. Really the design and the brand and the experience end to end on this thing. You know, really when people land on the first touch point of your brand, whatever it is, a poster, a water bottle, whatever, right through to the experience of listening. That has got to be dialed in. And I think a lot of podcasters fail at that. And I think that is what's going to, Rick, you talked about, how do we go from this level to that level? That's the distinction, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
well, and there was a lot of talk about the niche, like having a very, very narrow niche. And I can't think of her name. She's the money maven gal, Patrice Washington. And she's got street cred. I mean, she's been on MSNBC. Her podcast got voted top 15 in Forbes magazine. This gal has been a money person on major networks. And her one message that resonated was, don't assume because you have credibility somewhere else that you're going to have credibility in this world here. So you got to go build it. And in 1 year, yes, she didn't have it. She started her podcast literally a year ago, that podcast movement. And she's grown. But I want everybody to just kind of take the number in here. 250,000 downloads. Now, to some of that's going to seem like a huge number. But you have to remember, this gal has had huge success outside of the podcast world.
Yeah.
So to have huge success and you got 250,000 downloads in a year, yeah, for me, that's a great big number because I've been doing this for 2.5 years. And I'm going to hit 100,000. But put that into perspective of, I'm actually in the right spot because my podcast, and it's got me rethinking things right now, is my podcast started as very niche. How do I now take Life Uncloseted and keep it very niche, even though I'm trying to talk to the broader audience? What is the niche within Life Uncloseted? And the niche I came up with over the last few days, which Mark and I have talked about numerous times, that really hit while I was at Podcast Movement. My niche is people who want to live life on their terms. That's it. It's actually very narrow. It is the bold move. That could be a niche, but I think it's more people who want to live life on their terms. A lot of people talk about it, but not a lot of people do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an interesting way to think about what's the niche. Carm, back to you. You may be the niche guy that says, hey, I'm going to play with the big players, but my niche is I'm going to respect the small business owner. That's what I'm doing. Andrea, I think there's a niche within your stuff that hasn't even revealed itself. Raph, you've already got the niche. I mean, you've got a niche that you just got to go play it. And I think that was a big message that I got out of this too. Even Aaron Mahnke, the guy that does lore, his talk was one of the best. Because he says, I had this and it took off. He goes, now I'm getting approached by comic books. I'm getting approached, he's got his book deal. He goes, I'm getting approached by, animation and other animation outside to go take this thing. He goes, my niche is this. I could go chase all this stuff, but I have to make sure I know where my niche is. It's got to be the people who want to hear the historical stories that are kind of whimsical and weird. Because if I go and release this thing, because I'm not saying I'm not going to, but to go run and jump right now, he goes, some of you out there are going to hear what I'm saying today and you go, oh, well, where do I fit in the comic book world? If you have to ask that question, you probably don't. If you ask that question, go, oh yeah, I know exactly where I fit, then that may be something to go explore. So I just think those are some of the big messages that for sure hit.
Yeah, I would agree totally with that. And I think one of the big considerations for most people is that they think a little bit too small with things. So, I think you got to hit a lot higher than you think you can to get started. Rather than, I'm always a big fan of this, rather than working your way up, like screw that, just go big and see where you land. That's the best way to do it. That's quite scary, Cam. So I think that's one thing to consider as well, is like, you've got to, it takes as much effort to talk to one person and work up as it does to talk to the same person at that level and work down. Andrea, you've done a great job of that. You were working at that level. You've not worked your way up. You've gone in at the top, and you're seeing where you settle. And you're probably talking to people that a year ago you wouldn't have thought you'd have been able to talk to.
Yeah,
it's a huge thing. It's a huge confidence thing, and I think you've got to kind of be ballsy about it as well, and be a little bit bold about it. And, piss some people off. Like, who cares? A lot of people don't like to be. They don't like to be made uncomfortable by someone else doing something that they could never appear to do, and they're just not the people you need to be around.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's an important point about staying in your niche. But in my opinion, you have to be, from day one, you have got to look the best in your niche. You have got to look the best, not only from a design perspective, but from an experience and from a tone of voice perspective, and from a confidence perspective, and from, you know, the audio. Everyone now can do good audio. That's it. Everyone can do good audio. That's it. It's easy. Now what we've got to do is think about, actually, what's the quality of the story? What's the quality of the interview? What's the quality of this brand? What's the experience on the website like? What's the experience on Instagram like, and Twitter? You know, what's that connectivity between them? If you don't have that, if it feels disjointed or someone slips, then they're not coming back, because they will be at the other show. They will go somewhere else because there's that many other options now. So yeah, I find it very interesting. Yes, Andrea?
So you brought up a good point about Instagram. So with this branding thing that you're offering through your services, will they help with branding on, like, across social media too?
So I think what you've got to figure out with branding is, like, the logo bit is easy, the design bit is easy. We can sort you out and we can refer you to a designer. What people get wrong with branding is all the stuff that we've spoken about for the last 2 years. People don't understand what they're doing. People just think a logo, they think that is productivity. They think that is productivity. It's not. That's not what, that has been derived from everything that I told the designer. You know, that we didn't start with that because it looks all right. We started with everything that we're trying to do, and then that came out of it. Most people go the other way. So I think the thing to do is work through some of the workshops. Like, we've got a lot of branding workshops in the academy. You know, work through those. It's about the tone of voice. It's the why. What are you doing? You know, we know why we exist as our soft. You know, we've got podcast websites. We've also got two other platforms launching this year. One of which you know about now. The other one you don't know about yet. And we started with this whole what we want to achieve for you, and then the brand just happened to come out of it. Most people say, I like red, I like this kind of font, and I want it to look like this. That's not really the way to do it. So what then happens is that they need the help with Instagram, or they need the help with Twitter. But actually, if you go at it the other way, the designer delivers you something that just visualizes what's in your head. Yes. And then suddenly it becomes really easy, because you know that this is the kind of stuff that I write, these are the colors that I use, and this is my logo and my ID. And it just becomes really easy to put that together. It's almost like having a schematic for a jigsaw. You just know what goes where. And suddenly the picture's really easy to put together. So yeah, like the assets for Instagram, that's really easy. You know, you just supply the assets in a square format or in a logo type, whatever that is. But you got to start with the background of the brand, you know, so really go deep into that. We've got some worksheets for that as well in the academy, so you can work on that. But I do think that is what will set people apart, is that sponsors are going to want to look, I say it on the webinars, and it's going to be part of the new pre-installed site at podcast websites. There's a sponsor kit page. There's a sponsor kit template page for the new installs. And it's sort of a, like, you have to look ready to work with, because there'll be a lot of people in your industry that can tell as good a content stories as you can, that can interview as well as you can, that get as good, if not better numbers than you can. Like, you've just got to look worthy of sponsoring. So if these guys come to you and they say, well, look, we're actually calm, we're talking to this podcast in the automotive aftermarket and they've got twice the number of downloads, you can say, but have they got this brand equity? Do people trust them? Does it look like your brand? Does it fit the quality of your brand? That's how you start to work with the right people. And it's a funny one. It is a funny one. And it's not complex, but it just requires a lot of forethought. You know, Raf, actually, you did a hell of a lot of forethought with this. Your brand actually looks really solid. But it's not only looks solid,
8 weeks.
Solid. Exactly. And that's actually quite a short project. You know, productivity took 6 months.
And so originally, Andrea, I kind of felt like I was seeking out graphic designers that were veterans, because I knew that field, and every single one delivered me what a typical military idea was. They had a boot, they had a helmet, they had a rifle, they had something. And I actually I said, I need someone that doesn't know anything about the military. And I ended up with this guy, fabulous guy in Croatia. And and he told me that his granddaddy served in World War II, but that's the closest thing he had to the military. And I had to literally explain to him why I wanted the color red. And it was actually a really neat journey that we journaled through this email back and forth, because he was thinking like a designer and like, no, I want to do this. And I'm like, nope, I'm against that. And then we would talk it out, and we talked it out for 2 weeks on just a star. What kind of star? A 5-pointed star. A star, and it was nuts. I was getting so frustrated. I was like, dude, we're almost in the 2-month mark. We have to finish this up. But when it was done, and thank you, Mark, for the validation, I just feel like it's just a solid brand. When people look at it, they already know it's got an Americana feel. It's got a patriotic feel. What is this? And as soon as I say veterans, they're like, boom. And it just clicks. But it took a long time.
But that's the thing. That's the feel that you know. There's a difference between a brand and a logo. You know, a logo is the visual identity of the brand. You know, it's just a simple representation. But it's how does it get perceived? How does it position you on first visual look? You know, do you want to say something, Andrea? Jump in.
Yeah, going back to what Carm's trying to do, where he has remarkable results, but then he's going to do the Carm brand. You know, I'm wondering how I should do my branding. Should I still stay with me, or do I do it to what my work is going to be?
I would do you personally, because it's you delivering this thing. So I'm a little bit different. Cam's kind of a little bit different, but Cam's somewhere between you and me, I think. So I'm actually changing all my stuff. All Excellence Expected stuff will be gone, and it's just going to be.
And honestly, it's my favorite T-shirt.
Well, I'll send you another 2. And,
cool. I'm wearing them at boot camp, man.
Yes, I'll send you some more. But we've got like the whole markaskis.com branding is just starting this next 2 weeks actually, and that. The reason for that is that to have 2 company names is confusing. It's actually all I'm doing on my stuff is telling you the behind the scenes of this stuff. Yeah. You know, so to have 2 companies, it's a little awkward. But to build the audience around me, I can say stuff that the business can't say. You know, and I can move that audience. So if I ever stop doing this, that audience is still there, and I can move it. Same with you. Calm's a little different. Calm's a little different because Calm is remarkable results. Calm is the man behind the curtain on that one. So that's a little bit more of an awkward balance.
So can I throw this out to the group of my 2 things that I came up with that you said you really liked both? I came up with humankind by design, like human, kind by design, and raising humankind, with the idea that eventually it's going to go across contexts. It's going to be in the workplace. It's going to be in schools. It's going to be at home. Does that sound like it bridges the personal brand with the, like, me and the brand? Is that?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, I think your whole domain and everything should be your name because you've got that.
Uh-huh.
And I think all of your content, which is essentially a product, should be raising humankind. And that is the product. Like Rick Clemens, Life Uncloseted. When Rick does next thing, Life Uncloseted still exists as a product. And it's there as a content mechanism that serves these set of people. But you're not having to then create a brand new website for this other stuff. You know, so it's AndreaFrank.com. Was it Andrew Kane Frank? I forget. And then it's Raising Humankind by Andrew. You know, so
do you like Raising Humankind or Humankind by Design?
I like the latter.
I do too.
All right. Cool. Anybody else have feedback on that?
Well, I'll just share something that came to me over while I was at Podcast Movement. And again, Mark and I have talked about this, and he just said it. Life Uncloseted is just a product. of Rick Clemens. So I can confuse the market really easily, and it's a little confused right now if you land on my homepage, because it says make bold moves, live life uncloseted. Okay, that's a nice tagline, but I want to separate it out. And I think now I know what I'm going to do is it's going to be make bold moves, live life on your terms, or life on your terms, or something like that. So it says, here's what Rick is all about. Oh, and by the way, he does it through one of his products, which is Life Uncloseted. Then he does it through one of his products, which is coaching. He does it through speaking. So once you start to get that, not every one of these things has to have a branded thing around it, but everybody knows me as the life, in the podcast world, as the Life Uncloseted guy. So I think that'll help you to realize that, human by design, or whatever that is you just said, actually becomes your product, so to speak.
Okay, so you guys like raising humankind better than humankind by design?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because eventually I wanted to fold out into kind at work, kind at home, programs for the different areas, kind at school. So you think that would lend itself?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that. But you be the center of it, raising humankind by Andrea.
Yep.
You were the middle of that thing.
You know what's amazing? I saw this visual of a bridge in Vietnam that is a hand, and the bridge and the people walk through the hand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. And I think if you can think about, when it comes to sorting out the branding and briefing the designers and so on, really think about how you want to be perceived. How do you want to be, what feeling do you want to evoke? Like when we did this branding with the productivity stuff, it's very different to the podcast website stuff. Like we wanted it to feel like you'd walked into a Spotify ad, and it works. It did that. And you've got to feel and understand how you want to be perceived by that.
Yeah. It was interesting because in the summit, I had a military guy who was a naysayer because he didn't attend the first day. And he came the second day, and he read through all the materials from the first day that were still posted. And he went to the CEO and he said, yeah, well, this is great. I read through everything, but it's only positive. Like, this seems like a rah-rah session. But what he didn't get was that we addressed every single challenge in the company. We unveiled every single challenge in the company. We just did it from a strength-based perspective. Mm-hmm. And then we were able to create a roadmap.
That must be quite tough for people to swallow, to be fair, because people are so used to seeing it from the downside and then trying to fix it. So I can understand. And I think that's just that one thing is masses of content for your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 10 podcast episodes in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wrap it in a couple of minutes, top of the hour. Any more thoughts? Anyone need any feedback on anything? Anyone got any ideas?
I need to go back, Mark. I'm still processing. So there's Mr. Asquith, the brand.
Yep.
Excellence Expected is going away because you're going to move it over to Mr. Asquith, the brand.
It'll just be markasquith.com. That's it. Then everything will just be under my name.
But we're not going away, right? I just need to keep hearing that.
No, not yet. Not in the foreseeable. No plans.
You said not yet.
Not yet. I know. Yeah, you're catching on that. But we'll be all grown up. He'll be like, "Yo, now beautiful swans, go fly away." I'm going to.
Yeah. Because Rick and Carm are ready to launch. I'm still squandering.
There's plenty of there's no plans to change anything on this side of things. That's why I moved it to one a month. Had it not, if you guys had said no, I need 2 a month, then it would have all gone. But the 1 a month works well.
So work with me on this one, because Excellence Expected has been the brand that you have been building for quite some time, 3+ years, right? And why the 90-degree shift into just Mark Asquith?
Just because people just want me. It's just my brand. People just want me. They ask me to speak. They ask me to write. They ask me to do things.
Okay. They're asking Mark. So you are saying there's no reason I have a shell in front of you when it is just you.
Exactly. And even if that builds into a bigger business, which I've got no plans for it to at the minute, even, that's just audience building and accruing content and a massive arsenal of content. We do a show every single day and a blog post every single day.
Right.
That's masses of content. So that's just, it's just a way for me to tell the story of what we're doing here without having to do it. I can say things there that I can't say here.
So if Excellence Expected were to have taken the track to where you were almost a coaching consulting business or a a la Tony Robbins type deal, you would have kept it in-house as Excellence Expected because there were multiple different speakers, multiple different entities. Is that kind of what you're saying?
No, probably not.
It's just you, it went this direction?
No, probably not. No, it's not even that complex. I think you're just over adding a bit of complexity. No, it would have always just become me. It was a way to test a brand out. I think I would have always pulled it back into just me. Because I'm at the front of everything, so people want access to me.
So going back to the very beginning, why didn't you start off with just you then?
Couldn't get markasquith.com. That was it.
Oh.
That was literally it.
Okay.
And then it came up one night when I was drunk, and I was like, oh, screw it, I'll check to see if I can get it, and then it did. And it was there, and I bought it for like $10. And
nice.
Yeah, it was just easy and random Friday.
But I think there's something here that I think is a really great lesson. Think about, Tony Robbins just came up as you guys were talking. I can list off Sally Hogshead. You look at Chris Gilliboo. You look at Chris Brogan. If you look at Lewis Howes, Gretchen Rubin, she was just it isn't Gretchen Rubin. It isn't the Happiness Project. It's Gretchen Rubin, the Happiness Project. Lewis Howes is Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness. And Mark and I went through this with me about 6 months ago. We were trying to decide, well, what's the lead? I'm the lead. Life Uncloseted, Make Your Bold Move, those are my things. But people aren't going to hire Make Your Bold Move or Life Uncloseted. They're hiring Rick. They're hiring Rick because Rick has this brand that emanates around Life Uncloseted and Make Bold Moves. Mm-hmm. So I think once you can grasp that, Tony Robbins isn't because Tony Robbins created whatever one of his, weekends is. They're not going to hire, the power within. They're hiring Tony Robbins, who's the guy who created the power within. So I think once we all realize this, these are our assets, and our assets are what going to get us known. Mm-hmm. But we are the brand.
And I think just to expound on that a little bit, a lot of people assume that with Excellence Expected and my stuff that I want to be a JLD or a Pat and earn a couple $100,000 a month and build this. Let's be honest, $2.5 million a year is a micro business. That's it. It's still a tiny business, especially with the disproportionate amount of staff that a business of that size uses. That is never my goal. Like, my goal is to make a $200 million a year software business. That is a totally different game. And it's, my personal brand is never to be the coach. It's never to be the passive guy. It's never to be the person putting out info products. It's not. It's to make this software and just happen to, because I like doing it, do these things with you guys. It's a very different thing. And a lot of people assume that I want to be in that online entrepreneur space. I genuinely don't care about that. Like, my thing is making a tech business and scaling that tech business and applying my personal brand to that. So that's really why we've done it. That's why, James is here. That's why Hannah's here. Why Kieran and I could have kept podcast websites purely as just us two and earned a really good living. And we could have just done two of us. But, we've got 8-10 people because we're scaling. So it's a very different position to be in, which is kind of why that repair pal that we were talking about earlier, Cam. It's kind of why I can see both sides of that coin. Because there's a lot of, that's basically just a funded Series A startup, and they're doing things that annoy people. But ultimately, as a user, I would probably use that versus Google. That's it, simple. So there's definitely two tracks to that are very, very interesting. Very, very curious. But it's interesting how we all kind of differ. Hey.
Flash mob.
Flash mob.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts? We'll wrap up in a few minutes. I'm in no super rush today. So any more thoughts, any more ponderings and musings?
So I own carmcapriato.com, and it goes to Remarkable Results. And it goes to the homepage. I think what I'm taking away here is I really should create a new landing page that puts me more in the front side of this. Not that I think anybody ever goes there or uses it, but if I could start building brand Carm, I should really manage it differently. I think that's my takeaway from today.
Well, you could also just point the domain to your about page and beef up your about page about you.
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought about, Rick. Thank you. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely.
Yeah, don't overcomplicate the other.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yep.
This is a really, really neat conversation because it goes back to kind of early on in the 7-minute mentor episodes where we start identifying ourselves, not as ourselves, but in the product that we're putting out because we think that's what we need to be doing. This is really, really interesting because before this conversation, Served was this entity, and Raph is building this thing, and everybody is going to know that I'm the guy behind this thing, which is really neat. But at the same time, Served, I've always felt was just a product. So this is putting a different spin on it because, like Rick was saying, if someone's going to want Raph to go talk to him, hey, how did you do this? And you're kind of a little wild. How did this happen? I can tell the Served story, but I'm the one that is getting the speaking gig. Is that kind of what I'm getting? I mean, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think the juxtaposition for most people is this. If you have a product to sell or give to the world, that seems easier for most of us. But the moment you become the product, there's all this imposter syndrome that then shows up.
Yeah.
Because we're not used to putting ourselves in that kind of a space. But when you can stand up and say, this is me, and if you go look at some of the people who are highly successful, they got there because they finally embraced that this is who they are and they're creating these things, which is just a part of their brand.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you've got to figure out, like, does your brand warrant the storytelling? And if it does, which I'm sure it does, do you tell it under the banner of the brand, like under the Served banner? Like you, Raph, would be better telling your tale under the banner of Served. Whereas for me, I can't tell the true story of building all these products out under the brand blogs and under the brand content channels because I have to be able to say, fuck, that was a hard week. Do you know what I mean? No one wants to hear that the person servicing them had a hard week. Do you know what I mean? Because the service doesn't change. The team's there. Nothing changes if I have a bad week. But I need to be able to put my brand out there and say, shit, here are the realities of growing this thing. You don't need to do that. So you got to kind of, because you don't want to just double your work for the sake of it,
Right.
I get it. Well, and so this is leading up to something where, because Andrea said something early on as far as her LinkedIn page or her LinkedIn connections, and I have purposefully have not built that up because that's me. That's Raph. I don't need to build that up. I need to build this other thing called Served up. But I'm finding out of this that even though through the Served message, giving my message, I still need to have this other entity or this other thing built, kind of like what Carm was saying. Well, maybe, and how Rick just said, maybe through the About Me page, it'll direct to this one little landing page. Hey, this is Raph. If you want a speaking gig, here's my LinkedIn page or something to that effect, right? So creating this little micro ecosystem, and it all loops back.
Yeah. But it also all loops back, and Mark and I have been talking about this. I mean, I'll just kind of quickly lay out where the strategy is at this point. So LinkedIn, I'm going to leverage that only for speaking. There's no reason I need to do anything else over on LinkedIn. I don't need to do the coaching. I don't need to do the podcast. But what I need to use LinkedIn for is speaking. So everything that's going to go up on LinkedIn is going to be around what college university students are struggling with, why it's important to be able to identify an employee who's coming out of the closet, why there's these productivity issues that we can call a closet. So anything that's happening over in LinkedIn is going to be those entities that would lead me to speaking gigs or doing workshops in college universities or in the corporate environment. I don't need to talk about anything else over there. Now, over on Instagram and everywhere else, I can be putting my whole brand out there, but even over on LinkedIn, the resounding theme is going to be making the bold move, living life on your terms, finding those closets. So it's just a matter of keeping the themes consistent, but honing in and knowing, okay, this outlet over here is for this. Over on Facebook, I'm going to be focusing only on my coming out page and the Gay Man's Life Coach page of trying to utilize that to get clients for coaching. Instagram is just going to kind of become the hubbub of everything, because Instagram will have the Motivation Mondays. It'll have the personal observations of things I do when I'm out and about. It'll be the, oh, look, here's who I met. I made a bold move and introduced myself to, XYZ person, at Podcast Movement or at National Speakers Association. But you notice how I said, here's the bold move I made.
Yeah.
Everything resonates from behind that space.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's brilliant. Because that's one thing that I've been sort of kind of, as I'm emerging, I'm kind of seeing where I'm having folks, and they're mostly in my inner circle, that are following me on Facebook, on all these different platforms, on Twitter and Instagram. And I literally had the thought a few days ago, and I thought, what am I, and the guy that follows me is a really good buddy. My name is Rob. And I thought, what am I going to give Rob differently in these 3 different areas that he follows me in? Because he's going to get bored if I'm feeding him the same info from 3 different avenues. And what you just said right now is validation to a thought that I had. But you pick, and we kind of talked a little bit about it when Mark was saying, pick Instagram as where you tell your story, but then strategically use LinkedIn as this for this. And so that's actually, this is tremendous. This is a great mastermind today. I mean, they're all great, but this one was good.
It's a
strategy.
It's definitely a challenging one, but the key thing is to just put something out and adapt it. Nothing's right or wrong. Everything changes. You can just, as long as you're getting something out and use that content, just keep it in your arsenal and just make it so you can move it into whatever place you want. That's not anything wrong with doing that. There's never any worry about saying, well, actually, I'm going to refactor this or shift the brand around or move here. Like Rick's done that a couple of times. I've done it. Cam, you're about ready to do it. Raf, you'll do it in the next 5 years, I've got no doubt. And Andrea, you'll probably do it in the next 6 or 7. You hit a critical mass, and then it's time to just nudge it to the next level. It's just the way it goes. So, right, guys, we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up in a sec. So thank you for staying on a little bit longer. It's been a good discussion, that. We can pick any of this up in Slack as normal. Cal, I'm going to borrow you for 2 seconds just afterwards to talk about Chris. So we'll talk about that just now. But everyone else, Andrea, I got your Slack message about your session being away, so I'll pick that one up. And then Rick and Raf, let's just keep chatting as we normally do.
Yep. Good. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Take care.
All right,
awesome.
team. Bye.